collective power to decriminalize poverty, to expand housing and public health infrastructure, and to fight state violence. We want to connect to unhoused and housed communities in the most housing unequal city in the country. Los Angeles, while wealthy, we have severe discrepancies in equity when it comes to housing. Our public goals are free and fair public housing for all, community control of housing, and the abolition of police and prisons. With goals in mind, Streetwatch LA centers the lives and work of BIPOC people who are disproportionately marginalized and criminalized and housing insecure. So we are an abolitionist org. We do not believe in the police. We do not believe in the carceral state. And we can go to the next slide. So first, we'll be doing a quick analysis of homelessness in Los Angeles, and then we can head on over to the next slide. So to begin, here are some statistics. These were taken in 2019, so these numbers are a little bit off from what we're experiencing now. We have 66,436 unhoused people in Los Angeles. This number has risen to over 70,000 since the pandemic started. We've gone from a 14.2 increase from the 2019 count. There unfortunately was not a homelessness count in Los Angeles based on this year. So our numbers are a little skewed in that way. Only 0.6 of the Los Angeles County population is houseless, but 1 in 3 uses of force incidents are committed by LAPD are against an unhoused person. So we see how disproportionate that number is. And Black people make up 8% of the Los Angeles County general population, but 34% of the unhoused population. So these numbers are extremely important to know as we kind of dive into the intersectional issues, the race, class, gendered issues that we face as we conceptualize homelessness here in Los Angeles. So yeah, we can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So in January alone, we had 165 unhoused deaths in Los Angeles County. And these are for a multitude of reasons, but one main one is hypothermia. So that is an interesting one because we live in a semi-warm climate, but prolonged exposure to the elements leads to hypothermia. So we, as a Streetwatch group, are exceptionally cognizant of that. That number is astronomical. And we have noted that it has gone from 4 unhoused people dying a day in LA to 5. So we're already experiencing the effects of our housing crisis. We can head on over to the next slide. This is Pete White, who is he is the creator of LA Can Network. And so we can go ahead and watch this video.
Pete White, LA Can Services Not.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Sweeps Coalition. Long gone is a day where you can simply state homelessness is a byproduct of not trying hard enough or because of substance abuse and mental illness. Empirically, your numbers show that 71% of houseless people are houseless as a result of housing affordability, housing availability, and poverty. Only 29% related to the disease of addiction or mental illness. We would appreciate it more if you could just be honest about the purpose of these tools. As a result of your absolute failure to deal with economic injustice, racial injustice, housing injustice, gender injustice, you turn to rabid criminalization as your answer. Following in the footsteps of Jim Crow, apartheid, segregationist, KKK politics, you attempt to convince me that you must arrest me in order to rescue me. We're in need of 550,000 units of housing for Angelinos barely hanging on. Do that. You know what? We would appreciate if you handcuff some courage, handcuff some leadership, handcuff some housing, or simply handcuff yourselves out of this job that you're failing at.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Pete White, LA Can.
As Pete White clearly lays out, we understand as an institutional issue as well as an intentional issue. We have the means to house people, and the city and the state are choosing to not. So we have noted that housing prices have risen, but wages have not. And one households in Los Angeles will pay 50% of their household income in rent. That is astronomical. So California has the highest level of functional poverty in any state. So even though we are run by Democrats, we see this notion of liberal white supremacy, where it doesn't matter if you are a Democrat or a Republican, you're participating in a system that is oppressive. So we have 18.2% of our population is impoverished in Los Angeles, in just Los Angeles. So gentrification and other displacement are methods that are used to systemically oppress people. And 59% of unhoused people cite economic hardship as their main reason. We do not see this as an individual problem. This is not an individual issue. It is in fact the failure of the state as to why we have these compounding problems. We can switch to the next slide. So in Los Angeles alone, our census data has indicated that there are over 218,212 vacancies in all types of housing in LA County. So if we wanted to, we could house every single unhoused person tomorrow. But neoliberal organizations push back on this number, and they will cite every bizarre reason, but it's usually seasonal rentals, second homes, short-term vacancies to like act why they're not going to house people. And during our homelessness crisis, the Luskin Institute at UCLA found that approximately 70,000 hotel rooms sit vacantly. So part of our organization's mission right now is to commandeer the hotels. FEMA money has been given. It has been 53 days since the Biden administration has literally given Los Angeles County free money to house people. And again, it's at the steps of city council. They're choosing to not vote on it. And that is killing people. Like being unsheltered kills people. So it is this neoliberal myth of the housing shortage. We do not have a shortage of housing. We have housing, but by commodifying housing, that's where we run into issues. So they suggest that it's a housing shortage when we need affordable housing. Within a white supremacy and capitalistic society, we're tying income to how we house people. And this means that affordable housing, by literal definition, by design, and when we state these things, it's designed to not necessarily be affordable because these like big developers are getting to call the shots. It has been created that by white supremacy and capitalism to provide a smokescreen to confuse and distract people from the deliberate violence, exploitation, and economic extraction from Black, Indigenous, people of color, and poor and the working poor more broadly. So we can go ahead and switch. So under white supremacy and capitalism, housing is not built for safety, comfort, or dignity. It is solely built as a commodity or a tool to violently extract profit from an underclass people. It follows that white supremacy and capitalism are fundamentally do not care about unhoused people or how many unhoused people are present in the given population. They are a byproduct of the system working as intended. Their only concern is that when homeless populations grow, so that the public unrest threatens their ability to extract profit, then they'll attempt to reduce homelessness, to reduce homeless populations. But reduce doesn't mean help, and it certainly doesn't mean fix. So we can shift. Oh, what is the city doing? Short answer, nothing. Long answer, they are, in lieu of solving the problem, they're providing ineffective, poorly run programs by intentionally ineffective organizations that are not designed to seriously confront homelessness. Instead, we run into public relations campaigns designed to placate people so that they don't even challenge the violence and inequity that these systems are bringing around in a meaningful and organized way. So partnered with every offered program or solution, which carries the implicit violence of state framing in these issues. We have explicit violence. We have the LAPD, LA Sanitation, who attempt to invisibilize unhoused people through brutal sweeps and homeless encampments, destroying and stealing and trashing people's belongings. And this is harassment, this is assault, and this is murder of unhoused people. So with these sweeps comes with special enforcement and cleaning zones around city-run homeless shelters. And these cause even more brutality to be inflicted on our unhoused neighbors and residents in this. We're seeing this now after the tiny home shelters. We're going to call them tiny sheds because they're not homes. They're a stupid option, quite frankly. But they are small. They are not insulated. They don't have an in-unit bathroom. And why should we expect unhoused people to settle for what we would not? I personally don't want to live in a confined space during a pandemic with another adult right next to me. You know, they're privacy issues. But around these around these shelters, an enforcement zone has been created, and it went into effect last week. So now this area is subjected to sweeps, and sweeps give the illusion that unhoused people are using the shelters, but really they're being displaced. They're not going to the shelter. They're in fact moving somewhere different because they've been subjected to state violence in that way. So we can go ahead and go to the next one. So what do? We build solidarity, and we organize a popular movement that understands the conditions of white supremacy of homelessness as a function of white supremacy, capitalism, and our current political structure. And we mobilize a group to materially address inequality in the lives of unhoused people, combat the expansion of state-sanctioned violence, and provide alternative structures to which people care for each other. So our community engages in that popular movement, and that's why we have Street Watch LA. So we can go to the next slide. We're going to be watching a video that gives you a better idea of what these sweeps are and why they're so violent. So this video has been filmed with clips by all Street Watch members who are on the ground monitoring these sweeps. To note, City Council actually stopped sweeps for a period of when the pandemic first hit. And we're going to be hearing from City Council members who voted to resume Care Plus sweeps during said pandemic. So this is my LA City Councilman, Joe Vizcaino, who I hate with a burning passion, but let's see what Joe has to say.
Care Plus cleanups do not clear encampments. We're not taking essential personal property. They remove trash. We certainly don't want anyone's personal items to be destroyed.
We follow our standard operating protocols. We will definitely give them an opportunity to reclaim that property within 90 days.
I just want to clean our streets. Why is that not acceptable? We know that encampments and the people who live in them need special attention, and not the kind of attention that causes trauma or displacement.
We're not talking about sweeps, we're talking about enhanced cleanup.
I'm not talking about moving folks away.
That's not happening. These are not sweeps.
So these are not sweeps.
We don't do sweeps. These are not sweeps. It's irresponsible to say these are sweeps.
Okay, sorry, I totally should have prefaced that. The videos that I will be showing are violent and brutal. So if you feel uncomfortable at any point, please feel free to do whatever you might need to do. So what Joe Vizcaino says is just so ironic because we know that these sweeps are in fact super, super violent. And, you know, a part of what we do with Street Watch is we monitor these Care Plus sweeps and document this footage because it'll later be used for legal purposes. So we use this on our legal side. We work closely with different lawyers, and we have actually been able to secure really important and just shifting the narrative around homelessness with these legal victories. So Garcia versus LA is an ongoing lawsuit whose plaintiffs include 5 unhoused Angelinos whose belongings were thrown away during a sweep. The argument is that it's unconstitutional for the city to throw away property on the basis of size alone. So even though we're not completely done with this lawsuit, our odds are looking good. The judge has placed an injunction last April. So that means that we're we're now banned the city from enforcing the municipal code, which had initially been used to justify these really violent sweeps and trashing of property. But before it was banned, during sweeps, unhoused people would be given 60-gallon like trash bags, and then would be expected to put all of their belongings in them. And so these are really harmful because people are losing their IDs, their medications, food, water, and especially their shelters. So this is obviously still happening. It's happening in CD15. I honestly, like, these videos are like traumatizing to me now. I have witnessed people have their shelters destroyed. I've witnessed people be brutalized by the cops at these sweeps. And so we, in order to give folks more agency in this already constrained choice of compliance that they're having to undergo, we provide know your rights information. And this is crucial for unhoused people to know how they can stand up to LA Sanitation and the cops, because oftentimes they will, like LA San and the cops will order or pressure unhoused people to do things that they're not legally obligated to do. So knowing your rights gives the tools to resist and fight for specific policy change. So we can go to the next one. And so another tactic that we use to combat sweeps are blockades. And this is a form of community eviction defense. So we're going to be watching a video of our first major sweepcade at Echo Park Lake in January of 2020.
Things are getting very heated here at Echo Park. Sanitation crews are trying to clean up some of the tinted areas right here. The community said they are not leaving. They're not going to vacate this protest. They're physically trying to stop them from taking this tint.
We have nowhere to go.
A lot of people have said they are willing to get arrested.
And we're taking a stand not just for Echo Park, we're taking a stand for poverty all over the world.
Okay, so here we can see the intrinsic relationship between the carceral state and LA Sanitation. And what I find most disturbing about this is they use this notion of cleanliness to justify their violence. And in reality, they do not actually clean. We have never said that people do not need like trash pickup. People need trash pickup just as an honest person would. So they use that to justify this violence, to destroy people's property, and then don't even do the job that they're supposed to be doing. So it's concerning that LASA and LA San can have this relationship and make decisions when unhoused people are disproportionately brutalized by the police. So if I and other outreach workers can do said outreach without the presence of law enforcement, I don't understand why LA Sanitation can't do the same. So that is sort of another form of like what we do with Street Watch. And on this side of the screen, we have a beautiful work of art that one of our friends at the Western Regional Advocacy Project was able to give out, and we pass out to our community members. So it says, if everyone can't afford the rent, they shouldn't fucking take our tent. Yes. Okay, and then we can go to the next slide. So what are we doing? Way more than the city, that's for sure. But we do this through mutual aid. And during COVID-19, many city sweeps have been put on pause, obviously not in CD15, but with the closure of crucial resources, providers such as restaurants, libraries, churches, and much of our pandemic era work has been focused on including food and supply distribution. So mutual aid is incredibly important to our work at this time. We have power-up tables every week, which because a lot of folks take for granted, like being able to excessively charge your items, being an unhoused person obviously shares some obstacles there. So phone charging is a huge one. So how are you going to get your stimulus money? How are you going to know when your doctor's appointments are? How are you going to communicate with family members or service providers? You know, so we make sure that we run these weekly power up tables that will continue to build ties with the community and also give them the opportunity to charge their devices and stay in touch with people. We also have used these as hubs for facilitating local outreach and mutual aid when there are different events. During the summer, we had those really horrible fires, and smoke inhalation was a real concern. So we made sure that we covered for Eric Garcetti like we always do, and we were able to distribute a lot of PPE in that way. We're also focused on a harm reduction model. So during the pandemic, people are more likely to be using substances alone, and we offer we offer an overdose treatment called Narcan, and we distribute that and many other supplies so that people who are using opiates or needles can keep each other safe in that way. And the third tangent of this is food justice. So food justice means feeding each other to feed our collective power. So demanding access to healthy, nourishing food, clean and cold water, and also for rights of low income and working class people to sustain their food culture, whether that be through urban farming or street vending. So we have partners with food justice groups like Polo's Pantry, Homie Made Meals, Hydrate LA, E-Yikes. So if anyone here knows any organizations that think they would like to participate in this kind of work, send them our way. We can always use more cooks, drivers, or helpers in that regard. And so we can go to the next slide. So this is to kind of conceptualize what it means to have a model that works through solidarity, not charity. So mutual aid is a form of political participation in which people take responsibilities for caring for each other and changing political conditions. This is not through symbolic acts or putting pressure on representatives in local government, but by actually building new social relations that are more survivable. So the context of mutual aid is rooted in abolitionist practice, and it's important to not depoliticize mutual aid. It is not a last minute response to a crisis or a stopgap until more resources are available, or an act of philanthropy. Mutual aid is how we support each other however we are able to, and in the process, we make it more possible to agitate and dismantle and to move towards a more autonomous collectivity and build towards these bigger shifts. So mutual aid is not and never was a form of charity. It is a guiding principle for practicing reciprocal and collective care. So I've broken down the kind of different tenets of mutual aid. So A, work to dismantle existing harmful systems and beat back on their expansion. This could be through cops, this could be through ICE, this could be through other oppressive white supremacist organizations, this is through capitalism. And then we also work to directly provide for people targeted by those groups and institutions. And then we also will work to build an alternative infrastructure through which people can have their needs met. So when we talk about alternative infrastructures, they are based in leftist values, democracy, participation, care, and solidarity. So that includes some of these prior activities, food, water, shelter, those kinds of different things. But at the same time, we hope that they will be sustainable and locally controlled. So we're building methods of also dealing with conflict and harm that do not involve the police or prisons. And we're building healthcare, education, childcare infrastructures that are controlled and informed by the people who use it. So we want to balance these three elements, and we think it's particularly important because of the boldness of working to end white supremacy and capitalism, colonialism, and borders. This avoids kind of like the purism that would suggest that only the most overt militant actions are valued, or discounting the work that directly cares for people made vulnerable by current conditions now, while also becoming solely focused on providing for people without getting to the root causes of that vulnerability. So we're going to be similarly building alternatives without dismantling current systems can lead to different utopian projects that can sometimes become exclusive. So we need to acknowledge that the necessity of immediate care and defense work alongside getting to the root causes of harmful things, that build alternative structures that allows for complex, nuanced, and develop the imagination of coordinated and long-term strategies. So we can go to the next slide. It's important to note that there is nothing new about mutual aid. People have been working to survive for all of human history. So this framework of mutual aid is significant in the context that social movements resisting capitalism and colonial domain, in which wealth and resources are extracted and concentrated, and the most people who survive by participating in a very extractive relationship. So providing for each other through coordinated collective care is radical. And it is generative. So effective social movements always include elements of mutual aid. And so one of the examples I'll refer to here on the left is with the Black Panther Party. So the Black Panther Party created a program called Breakfast for Children's program. And this program was a survival method. It was to provide free breakfasts, free ambulance services, free medical clinics, and programs offering rides to the elderly to do errands, and a school that was aimed to provide liberation and rigorous curriculum to children. So it was even identified as one of the most effective measures that has ever been taken by an organization. So the FBI, who later would inflict state harm and death on members of the Black Panther Party, they stated that it represents one of the best and most influential activities going for the Black Panther Party, and in such is potentially the greatest threat to efforts by authorities to neutralize the effectiveness of the Black Panther Party and to destroy what it stands for. So we don't want to depoliticize mutual aid, and in part, the state wanted to erase the effectiveness of the work that the Black Panther Party was doing because of Black liberation. They did not want the Black people to unite. They did not want white supremacy to be dismantled. And there were even harmful ways that they went about this. We had the Chicago program, which was supposed to open, and police broke into the church that was supposed to be hosting this drive and urinated and destroyed all the food. But even so, the resilience of the movement, of the Black Panther Party, and the work that they all do, there was a co-option of the program created by the US Department of Agriculture, which started federal free breakfast programs that still exist today and feed millions of children. That is the evidence of the significance and importance of mutual aid as a tactic. So yes, we could go ahead and move on to the next slide. So now, it's kind of daunting to follow the incredible work of the Black Panther Party with what Streetwatch is doing, but we will. I'm going to talk a little bit about our South Bay chapter. I organize with our South Bay local, and we have this is the Westchester, created right across from Benny's Tacos. We are now doing outreach there more completely. And this we've been doing it roughly for over 4 months now, but the park has roughly 50 people living in it, and another 30 live nearby. And people are often drawn to this space specifically because it does have access to regular trash pickup and restrooms, which are often not, that's not common in a lot of encampments, which is stupid, but unfortunately not common. And when there isn't regular trash pickup, that is often what the city leverages for these brutal sweeps. And the cycle of harm is so unfortunate in that, because people need regular trash pickup, but the city chooses to displace and destroy rather than just do spot cleanings. And so the residents still don't have electricity or access to the internet, and showers, despite all of these resources being located on property. So a lot of our work has been with working, we could go to the next slide, with Mike Bonin's office to kind of say what's going on in the park and what people need. And while Mike Bonin is okay on the level of city council, there has been some work with the office in terms of advocating for services that we might need, but so far the pressure has actually put some some help and brought some services to BARC, but it's increased access to sanitation as well as transportation to the YMCA, but they still continue to advocate for access to electricity, Wi-Fi, and access to the showers at the park. So again, we see the city withholding resources when they're right there and available and shouldn't have, like, yeah. So we could go to the next slide. So our volunteers are doing outreach regularly and checking in with residents, providing tents and other material aid. We're also swapping out charging banks for drained ones and bringing warm meals. So these are like Street Watch power banks that we use to charge for folks that we know we'll be seeing in a little bit. So we give those out. And regular outreach is really critical to maintaining these bonds. And it also keeps us connected to what's occurring. So if we didn't have regular outreach, we would not know when sweep signs are posted. And these inform what direct actions we're going to take. As mentioned earlier, we do blockades, we do sweep defense, and these are really violent. These have become really powerful, but really disturbing events that Street Watch has become more accustomed to going through. And Hollywood they are doing incredible work, and they have been able to block these sweeps because typically it'll be a sweep and then you talk to the folks who are running this from LA Sanitation, and it can sometimes be changed into just a spot cleaning. So they've been able to advocate in ways that have changed these, like, what would have been really horrible sweeps to spot cleanings. So that's a model that a lot of the city is trying to do, but it's horrible because we know it's intentional. They also don't pick up trash. They don't do what they were saying that they were going to do. So regular outreach is really important in that way, and to just, show up for your community, show up in the ways that you can. Then we can go to the next slide. So we started our Power Up table in Westchester just a little bit over a month ago, and we've been doing them every other Saturday, but we're hoping to expand. So if you ever want to join, we would love that so much. But on this photo, we have Matt, Ken, Casey, who's actually an LMU student, and Tiffany, but obviously real star, Pumpkin, who lives in the encampment. She's a Chihuahua mix. So precious. We love Pumpkin. But yeah, this is another way to get involved if you would ever like to. And then we can go to the next slide. So we recently launched a community cabinet, which is similar to like a community fridge, but it's an outdoor cabinet, and we and other community members stock with hygiene and first aid supplies, so the community has access to it. So if anyone is interested in helping in that way, like, we would love to have eyes on the cabinet and what needs might be needing to be met in that way. Again, and these are forms of autonomy. This is a way of us running the systems that we should be. So we have control over these resources so we can provide for each other. And yeah, we could go to the next one. So this is, if you want to get involved, please feel free to email Matt Zaro. You can also get in touch with me if you would like to. But Matt is our wonderful South Bay coordinator, and we appreciate him so much. So if you would like to do that, you can email him. And you can also reach out through our social media accounts. So I will probably see your message if you choose to send it. Go for it. We are on Instagram and Twitter as Street Watch LA. And then we can go. Yes. And so the beauty of this work is that we are not alone in this fight. And there are a lot of other folks doing that work on the ground, making sure that people have enough to survive. And so a couple of our coalition partners, like I said, we are part of a coalition called Services Not Sweeps. So we are joining forces with other organizations rooted in, abolition, collective care, and homelessness. And we, again, work towards these greater shifts that we're searching for, because we can't do it alone. So we have K-Town for All. I also organize with K-Town for All, but for the sake of this presentation, I was Street Watch today. But I also, the Los Angeles Tenants Union, DSALA, Pola's Pantry, Stop LAPD Spying. We have UCLA for All, No Olympics, and Homelessness Healthcare Los Angeles, LA Can, Homemade Meals, Ground Game LA, and We the Unhoused. We the Unhoused is by far one of the most rewarding things I have gained from this work. It is a podcast done by Theo Henderson. He is an unhoused comrade who seeks to give voice to folks who are living in the streets, and they speak their truth in the way that they want it documented and the experiences that they've had with these systems. So if anyone wants, yes, it's incredible. Theo Henderson, incredible comrade, just, you know, it's so amazing seeing how our neighbors show up for each other. So if you haven't, We the Unhoused, Theo Henderson on Twitter and Instagram, and I think his Venmo is Theo-Henderson-2. Yeah, we want to fund the work that we're doing as well. So yes, I'm done. I talked at you a lot, and I would love to see if anyone has any questions or wants to dive deeper on some of these things that I talked about. So feel free. Yeah, feel free.
A question asked earlier that I think should be repeated. At the community cabinet, what are things that you would like people to see or to bring?
Yes.
You know, what are the most requested items?
Yes. So I am hung up on socks and wipes. That is the holy grail of a lot of the outreach that we do. Socks and wipes are extremely helpful. We make care kits. So those are just easy ways for folks to just like kind of grab and go. But we also include in those like period products. We also have granola bars or like a candy bar sometimes in them. We also, like, obviously with COVID, are putting masks in them, reusable, where we try to keep them reusable so folks can have them more than once. We also include like hand warmers during the winter when it's like really cold, and we also use like ponchos and stuff like that. But we also include trash bags because those are really helpful during like sweep days, because the city will only give like one bag to someone. So trash bags are really important. Yeah, but socks, wipes, all that. So if you also plan to go to the cabinet, we have kind of had to like up our security on it, because so we call people NIMBYs who don't care for the unhoused, but NIMBY stands for not in my backyard. And so there are really like violent people who like do not like unhoused people existing. So we have made sure that we like keep the cabinet kind of like under wraps. So if you are interested in providing, I'll drop my number in the chat and I can like tell you like locationally like where it is. Yeah, gotta watch out for the NIMBYs. They're chaotic at best, honestly. Yeah, anyone else? Totally fine if you don't. I feel like that means I did my job if people don't have questions, or I didn't. I don't know.
I have a question. I live like pretty close by the Westchester recreation area. It's like 5 minutes walking distance. So I was wondering what volunteering, like being a part of that, would kind of look like.
Yeah, good question. So Street Watch has like a formal group, like you can go to new member orientation and be a part in that way. I also completely understand y'all are in school. So we appreciate whatever you can give when you can. I would suggest you follow us on social media. We post all of our power-ups on our socials and the location of them. So we can always get you plugged in that way. And you can also message our accounts if you have any like specific questions. But yeah, I was feeling like so like warm hearing like other folks say that they wanted to like help out with the community cabinet and like at power ups, because when we're doing this work, like relationship building is so incredibly important. And you know, our power ups are ways for us to like chat with our neighbors, find out what's going on, you know. So we see them as more than just folks charging their devices. But yeah, we would love for you to, you know, come out, support. I lived like directly across from Benny's Tacos. So if I had been organizing with Street Watch before, that we could have maybe got this power up started beforehand. But yeah, Lainey, whenever you want, I think we just had a power up last weekend. So it's on like a 2-week rotation. So like it should be next weekend. So the weekend of the weekend of the 27th, Saturday. And they're usually like 1 to 3. They're in the afternoon. Yes, I'm forgetting when we have new member orientation, but honestly, like our socials are a really good way to like stay politically engaged too, because we can also like we can divide and conquer in the different political spheres. Like we've been able to call in for like public comment, like give city council an earful. So it's my favorite pastime. It's my only personality trait at this point, is to yell at city council. So I almost feel like you probably know the answer to this, Rashawn, but is there a way to like get people's information if they've signed up for these workshops? Because like I would love to create like a group chat or something with all of y'all, and like we can coordinate that way. But again, if you want my number, text me. I might not get back to you in like 7 business days, but I will respond at some point.
Yeah, I can I think I can pull up a report and like get everybody's LMU emails that are like attend this.
Or
one.
even I can give you my info, and can you distribute to them that way?
Yes,
okay.
I can. Yeah.
Perfect. We can do that. Cool. Hope I answered that question. Okay, Lainey. It was kind of a long-winded way.
Can you put your Instagram in the chat?
For sure. Danny_Doe. And then it's just Street Watch LA for all of our socials. Yep. Yeah, I'm so excited. I also hope this, like, as when I was coming back to give this, I was like, wow, LMU really made me what I am, and how I could be this like really radical abolitionist in this way. So amazing, Lavender. Yeah, Streetwatch's account is like, it's Twitter, but like digital organizing is so important right now. So we've been able to really do like some important work in this way, just in terms of like Twitter. We had a really horrible incident where this vacant building was playing really, really loud sound, and our residents like let us know that this was occurring, and we were able to like really well document like this abusive strategy, because this is something unfortunately the NIMBYs do to deter people. And so we were able to put a call to action out on our social media, and it went really viral. So I'm sure this development company had a really bad day getting an influx of just really stern emails. But without our socials, I'm not sure if we would have been able to do that. And without the relationships from our residents. Thank you. Good. I'm glad, because that was ridiculous. And they all like gave this like really blanketed, like, we're sorry. And I was like, an apology here is really horrible. First of all, don't apologize to me. Apologize to the residents. You inflicted harm. You traumatized people because they think that it's going to come back. I was like, I don't really care for your apology, but like house people in your development. Create a community fridge in your development. Like, I don't care for your apology. But I'm also
Literally, don't be sorry, be better. Like, nobody wants your
no one wants your apology. And like, for me, I don't want equity to be a horrible business stopping their horrible music. Like, I want equity to be housing people. I want it to be people having resources, not the bare minimum of having to like fire a Twitter store as a company. Like, it's so frustrating, but I'm glad the music stopped. But unfortunately, that is a tactic, and a lot of people use it. Anyone else? We're rolling up on 4 minutes, but this was wonderful, and I hope that I provided you with some nuggets of truth here. And you know, for me, like, our collective fight, it's in the same vein of when Black people are liberated, when the poor are liberated, when the unhoused are liberated, our society will be a better place. And working towards that collective care and abolishing these horrible oppressive systems meant to keep us down. Like, the freedom we are fighting for, the life we are fighting for beyond oppression is possible. And we must hold that sacred, because we will be gaslit in this work so often. It's been insane to me how I say housing is a human right and people fight me on it. Like, what? I just want people to have housing. What's wrong with y'all? Yeah. Any final thoughts? Anything? I'm happy to put anyone in touch with anything. So yeah, feel free. Reach out on anything.
Well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much, Danny, for your insightful presentation. Let's give virtual round of applause. That was seriously so inspiring. So I know a lot of other people here are ready to start working. I'm ready to start working, doing what I can. So thank you, seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have until 12:30 till the final keynote address from Father Greg and Jose Arellano. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Go ahead at 12:30. Follow Streetwatch LA. Follow Danny. Get involved. Tell your friends to get involved.
Yes. Tell all your friends.
Exactly.
I like sent it to our Streetwatch group. I was like, we're radicalizing the youth. They're ready. They are ready. But again, y'all, burnout is real. Finish your school. Streetwatch will be here when you graduate. I promise I will be here when you graduate. Get your degrees, and then we'll focus.
Thank you guys so much for coming and listening. I'll see you guys at 12:30.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Cool.
Andre.
That was good.
That was so good. That was really good.
I got my groove because I had my I was able to